Oh my goodness. So this crazy case. Hey everybody, welcome to the Deviant Mind. This is Dominika,
And this is Christopher.
and I have been in the seventh circle of hell of camp and children and everything. So I think Chris might be taking the lead on this crazy case. Oh crap. And of course I just had the doll. I don't know. Did you hear the dollar thing go off?
No,
Oh man, Zoom is amazing.
I did
About
not.
this. That's amazing. Okay. So we have another case, another lady killer, also from the crazy state of Florida, which
Florida.
I apologize to all listeners coming from Florida, but what are you guys smoking down there? I mean, it's got some nutty stuff happening.
It's a hotbed for just anything goes, you know,
Anything goes.
sex with crocodiles, shooting people in the butt over crackers.
Just
It's wild.
what's going on with you people, Florida? So this week we are doing the case of Sarah Boone, whose boyfriend mysteriously died in a suitcase while she watched.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
allegedly. She
Allegedly.
claims she went to bed.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I mean, this whole case is really nutty. And it's because she's nutty and her defense is, I mean, we'll get into all that, but um, this happened in Winter Park, Florida. So I have no idea what it's near, if it's near Tampa Bay, if it's near Miami or Orlando. I have no clue where Winter Park sits.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Strange
but
name for a town in Florida, don't you think? Unless of course it's like you have all the snowbirds coming down from the New England down to Florida. And so you're like, oh, it's Winter Park because it's where all the snowbirds live. But anyway,
right,
total random aside because like Winter Park in Florida. Why Florida? Why? Why are you so weird?
why Florida? Why? And hey, we're only basing this on, these are our opinions based on what we see. There is definitely a trend in crazy events and cases stemming from Florida. So it's really, hey, it's what we're seeing, right? We don't mean to offend Florida, but boy, what is happening?
You
There's
guys,
always been an underbelly to that state. It feels.
yes, it has been like, yeah, like just a little kooky. I'm thinking maybe the humidity and the heat and it just being Florida. Florida was the place where they thought they could find the Fountain of Youth, the
Oh,
Spaniards.
right,
Yeah.
right.
What happened, Florida? What happened? Anyway, we'll get off bashing Florida for a hot second.
Yes.
And so tell me about Sarah Boone. Have you been able to? Because this is like, this with these cases that we do, because sometimes they're not as popular as other cases, there isn't that much information on the suspect and the victim because they've pretty much led their lives as private citizens. And even, I found some arrest affidavits of theirs from a couple years prior. But before that, there isn't much of like Facebook or Instagram or any, I like, do you know what she even did for a living?
So here is, yes, I have, there is very limited background information for the both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But in my research, who came to mind and who popped up was, and this is really kind of funny, but not funny, but more about the coincidence or irony of this. Sarah Boone was a woman who was born into slavery in 1832. And in 1847, she marries James Boone, who's a free black man. And she gains her freedom November 25th, 1847, right? They have 8 children together. But before they have children together, they actually are part of the Underground Railroad. And they travel from Connecticut. They go to Connecticut from Craven County, North Carolina, right before the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. right? So that's
Yeah.
that Sarah Boone. She said, quote, if you have a story, make sure it's a whole one with details close to hand. It's the difference between a good lie and getting caught.
Oh, wow.
And so you bring that to today's Sarah Boone with her boyfriend, uh, you know, in a suitcase.
Yes.
And so, starting with the victim, what I know about Jorge Torres
Mm-hmm.
is that he was born February 13th, 1978, in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he's actually the father of three, uh,
Oh,
and has a history of domestic violence prior to being boyfriend
with
to Sarah
with
Boone.
Sarah Boone. Okay. So he
Yeah,
was a violent guy then.
correct.
Okay.
And at the time of at the start of their relationship, Jorge and Sarah, he didn't have a job, and I believe when
Okay.
he passed away, he was still unemployed, and he was a confirmed alcoholic, um, and so was she. So they were both 42 years old at the time of his death, and Sarah Boone, again, not much is known other than she has a couple of siblings. Both of them have I believe, a sibling, if not like more.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I was able to find out that she was married prior to being with Jorge
Okay.
to Brian, this guy Brian, and they had a child named Lucas.
Okay.
And so the
Were there
more,
any?
yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but were there any children were living with them at the time of Jorge's death?
no, no. So there were no children there. What's interesting here is that when Brian files for divorce in 2017,
Mm-hmm.
she never had a job. She never held down a job after the divorce, and was able to live off alimony. And
Oh,
that's how she was able to afford this condo where she and Jorge live.
okay. I see. So they were kind of like not wanting to say layabouts, but she's on alimony, and then is he just grifting off of her then?
Correct. They're basically both without a job. They're
Mm-hmm.
both alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Brian kept in touch with her because they do have a child together, um, and he said that her drinking just got worse. Like once they got divorced, like he just noticed a complete difference in her, and she,
Yeah.
sadly became alcoholic. He's very, incidentally, her ex-husband's very sympathetic towards her and like really feels for her.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time of this event, uh, he's the first person she calls because he lives near the condo apartment complex, right?
Well, that's interesting.
So that's interesting. He's there on the scene basically when the cops show up. And then
Yeah,
she calls 911 with this incredible story.
I
Uh,
see.
but yeah, I mean, this case really has a lot, again, not much information known. I can tell you that Jorge's mother was the first to uh, come out and speak to the media
Mm-hmm.
and try to shine a light on uh, her son's bizarre death. But she also says that she forgives Sarah,
Oh, that's
uh,
interesting.
which is interesting because during her interrogation, Sarah Boone says that she feels that his family never liked her, and they called her the White Dragon. So
Oh,
it's interesting. I think perhaps that you know she's an alcoholic. She has issues. She has issues with obviously relationships and marriage, and she was in this. They were together. Jorge and Sarah were together for a bit there. But
yeah,
again, it's interesting because usually with these kinds of cases, you're able to find out a ton of information, right, about their
right.
background. There's not much known here. There really isn't about their background.
Yeah, outside of the beating on each other, because There was a
Yes.
there was a police situation a couple years before he died, right?
Yes. So he had actually been arrested more than she was.
Okay.
But her last offense was battery, and she tried to strangle him.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but they had, I mean, it went back and forth, but he was basically always locked up. And in fact, at the time of his death, he was on parole.
Oh,
Uh,
seriously? Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay.
Uh, so this takes place back, this is Winter Park, Florida, 2020. So this is 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And her trial is supposed to start uh, July 24th.
Oh, okay. So in next month.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that is it's taken forever. It's been pushed and pushed. And she has been having so many issues with all of her attorneys. She's fired 5 of her attorneys.
Oh my goodness. And
Yeah. And
is there a reason why?
she doesn't like, I think uh, she's still playing the innocent. This was an accident. We were both drunk. I was
Oh,
tired.
I
She,
see.
like, which is actually second degree murder. It's not
Right.
premeditated; it just happens. But and they want to, their defense is going to be battered woman, the battered woman defense, which is
I see.
recognized in Florida.
Right.
So uh, she's also upset that a lot of the attorneys have these meetings without her and they're just discussing the case while she's locked up. She doesn't understand why she's not getting involved. And she's written tons of letters, and they've actually recently been published. Like, it's, you can find these letters, but they're intense. I mean, she's just extremely upset. I just keep wondering if she's just not, she doesn't come off intelligent enough to be her own defense. And I hate to say that, but it really
Right.
is.
Well, most people, I think, would not be. I mean, even if they were lawyers, if you're a killer, like you, I mean, you would want somebody else to be doing it for you because you're so not in an analytical mind at that point, right? Because you're
Mm.
fighting for your life with whatever happened. Um,
Yeah. Take the case of Ted Bundy, for instance. I mean, I think one of the most shocking things about that trial was how it completely ended with the judge kind of commending him, right?
yeah,
For It's like, boy, son, it's a shame things didn't come out differently. You could have made a great attorney. And it's like, wow, what a
yeah,
thing to say.
yeah. To Ted Bundy, which again, I don't think this woman. Well, I mean, Ted Bundy had gone to law school, so he
Right.
had obviously that type of compartmentalization in his brain. But
Mhm.
so now, did she claim in that first battery? Because I saw when I just kind of quickly looked through this case, the fact that
Yeah.
in 2018, when he said that Jorge said that she tried to strangle him, did
Yeah.
he did it ever come out that they were essentially abusing each other, or was it more of she was defending herself from him?
They were actually both doing this to one another.
Okay.
And multiple arrests. Boone was arrested for battery, yeah, as we were discussing, July 2018. And Torres had been arrested 3 times for battery. And Sarah bailed him out every time.
Oh, that's interesting. So she bailed him
Yeah,
out.
she
Okay.
bailed him out. So, yeah, it was just, you know, her present attorney is going to use battered spouse defense. Uh, at which point I'm sure you have her ex-husband on the stand.
Yeah.
You know,
And did they divorce because of her drinking? Is that what you said
uh,
earlier? Or
I mean, it's interesting, yes, because he says once Lucas was born, she just kind of got depressed and became an alcoholic, and the drinking just kept progressing and getting worse. And he's just like, I can't keep doing this.
yeah, I see.
So, and I think he perhaps she lived close by, so he can kind of check in on her.
Yeah,
They have a kid together, so. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, if I think her letters to her attorneys and to the judge, she's written, all have to do with she wants to be more involved, and she's just not. She feels like she's being excluded.
I see. I see. And then what about Jorge's ex-girlfriends? He was married before too. Did they ever come out and say he was abusive to them?
From what I understand, yes, because the same, he was arrested for domestic abuse
I
at
see.
that time.
I see.
And they had 3 kids together. I don't know his ex's name.
Yeah.
But yeah. But even back then, like he'd always had a history of domestic abuse.
Got it.
But it's a revolving door, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just, I'm kind of wondering, it's like, okay, well, you have this one woman who gets depressed after she has her kid, which again smells of postpartum depression.
Yeah.
Seems to have been doing a lot of these cases. And then she turns to drink to essentially help herself, which makes it worse. And then she falls in with this guy who is also abusive. And then what happened that night?
Also, I just want to point out that his mom, Jorge's mom, says, "quote He wasn't perfect, but he was a good son."
No,
So she was well aware, and I think
Yeah.
that's why she's able to forgive Sarah in some way. So they're making a puzzle. This is all according to Sarah Boone.
Okay.
They're making a puzzle, hanging out together, and they have a bottle of wine.
Mm-hmm.
And decide to play hide and go seek. They're just gonna play a game of hide and go seek, and he hides in a suitcase. And
How big of a suitcase? Like, is he?
he is kind of a slight and slender man. He's not very tall.
Okay.
It's conceivable. It's a big enough luggage where, if you're perhaps 5'6" and really skinny, you can fit.
Wow.
Okay. It's definitely one of those big jams with the rollers and everything,
Now, so here's my question.
Yeah.
Was there a zipper from the inside or from the outside?
That's always been my question too. And she says that she left room for him to breathe and that he could just easily unzip it. That from the first time I heard of this, I didn't understand why he was unable to zip it from the inside. It's quite rare, especially these days, to not have the double zipper.
Well, also, but hold on a second. So if she said they were playing hide and seek, which means one person is counting and then the other person is hiding, then how in the world is she leaving space for him to breathe in?
Because eventually the story goes, she finds him and unzips it a little so he can breathe.
I see.
Doesn't open it all the way. And I guess he's unable to get out. So her story is like, I'm going to get him. Like, I'll show him, like, we'll have some fun. I got to point out.
Prank gone wrong.
Precisely. Got to say, what makes this very interesting is it's, we've heard of and seen so many suitcase deaths, right?
Have we?
Well, yes. I mean, you and I walk around. We see so many suitcase deaths all over the place. You hack up a Dahmer. You hack up a body. You put the pieces and the limbs in a suitcase. Right. You put it in a taxi. You drive off and you dump it. Right.
Right.
You had the case of that woman who has, there's no word for a male mistress. A mattress? What should we call a male? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you call it? It's always like the boyfriend of this married woman, but not like mistress. What's a guy?
Like a master and a mistress. So it would be the master, because that doesn't work either, right?
That's weird. Yeah, the master. Really
yeah.
Anyways, and they apparently killed her husband and chopped him up, and just so many cases of chopping up and putting the pieces in a luggage and ditching it. This, I can't recall any other case where the victim is alive.
and then
in the
into the
suitcase
suitcase.
and
Yeah.
suffocating to death.
Yeah.
So, continuing the fun, she's just like really loopy now. It's like, I'll leave him some space. Ha ha. Like, you'll get out. And he does that all the time. He's just always whining. He cries wolf.
Right.
We get crazy. He's always crying wolf. And I went to sleep and I woke up. This is 11 hours later, by the way.
Okay.
He's in the suitcase for 11 hours. I wake up and I'm just like, oh my God, where is he? I go downstairs and he's in the bag. I open up the bag. He couldn't get out. Like, it's so crazy. I gave him CPR, but he's like still purple. You got to get over here. Like, her 911 call is basically, it's not just like, oh my God, please come over. It's like, oh my God, I just woke up. She actually goes into her alibi and her story on the 911
On the
call.
911 call. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. So was there, when I was reading like looking for the arresting affidavit, did they actually have video of her during this time?
Yes. So basically, Chelsea Canley, Jason. It's either Canley or Conley. Chelsea and Scott Lowen are the two detectives assigned to the case. And during the interrogation, they show her these two. She has two videos on her phone, and in both videos, you hear Jorge pleading with her and begging her to let him out.
Oh my.
Yeah. And so she's on the other end saying, ha ha ha, that's what you get. That's what you get. So at the time, they say that she thought that he was cheating on her. And the other thought here is like, that's just a red herring. What's obviously going on is he must have hurt her recently. And this is her big payback. Like, she's basically had enough.
Right.
Which is why her attorneys want to do the battered spouse. And even if you're living together and not married, I believe it still counts. Like, you're still like, spouse, doesn't have to mean married too.
Right.
But that's they sit down and show her the video. She doesn't want to see it. Like, at first, actually, what's really crazy about the interrogation is, first they're like, hey, do you remember this? And then their computer dies. What? So now Sarah Boone's in the room just like waiting for them to charge this laptop so they can show her the video. Finally, they show her the video. She's watching a bit of it and she's like, do I have to watch this? So both videos mocking him. He's like, Sarah. She says, that's my name. Don't wear it out.
Oh my.
And in the second video, that's just the first video. Second video, the luggage is now upside down. It's been changed. It's in a new position. And the police are getting more desperate. And her laughing is just extraordinary. Just, it's kind of like you get what you deserve. And it's pretty chilling. And then she may have, I believe that she was intoxicated and drunk, because why wouldn't you delete those videos? Why are you keeping those videos?
Unless, of course, she totally forgot about them, that they existed, right? Because
she might have really been drunken out of it. It's possible she may have just passed out upstairs. I don't think, from watching the interrogation with her and seeing footage of her, there's body cam footage when she calls 911 and they show up. And her behavior is just so erratic. Can I have a Dr. Pepper? I need my Dr. Pepper. Can I get a cigarette? Do you have a cigarette? The cop is just like, look, just sit down. We have to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And, I think she's freaking out because she didn't mean for this to happen, but it happened.
But it happened. I mean? Right.
But it happened.
So that's kind of where the non-premeditated, like, she was drunk. She thought she was getting back at him in some way, and then he ended up dying. So it wasn't fully in cold blood. At the same time, it kind of was, because, right? Like,
yeah. And she tells the cops they're going to think I killed him, uh, meaning the family. Like his family's going to think that she killed him.
That's
Just
interesting.
a rather bizarre thing to say as soon as the. I mean,
Like, and
she
why does she
really
even care? Like,
right.
I mean, yeah, that's interesting that that's what she would be worried about. Like, what about, hey, I'm going to go to jail and not see my kid again? I don't know. Like, that would
Right.
be,
Right. She knows that he has 3 kids.
right, exactly.
Actually, what's interesting about the interrogation and them confronting her with her camera footage, uh, she says she doesn't want to see the phone video,
Hmm.
but she also says that she doesn't recall what's on the phone videos. So why wouldn't you want to like? Why say you don't want to see it?
Right, exactly.
That's weird.
That is weird.
I don't remember. I don't remember taking the videos. Well, we're going to show them to you. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them.
Right, right. Do you think, has she ever shown remorse for him dying?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But I have not seen her cry. You know, she when she was arraigned, when she's body cam, it's really more about her freaking out and like she can't believe it. Like in
Right.
a way, it's like I did like look what's happening to me. I don't I can't believe it. Like I just went to sleep. He could have
Right.
gotten out. But when you watch these videos, you see the videos, while she's laughing, you notice on the suitcase that it's actually not a little unzipped for him to continue unzipping from the inside.
Yeah.
And there are lacerations and bruises on his back and on his neck.
Oh,
From the wriggling around and also being tossed upside down and
oh,
you know
wow. So he was trying to get out of that suitcase and like really,
yeah
he put up a fight then.
he put up a fight to try and get out.
Wow. That's a really
uh,
horrifying way to die.
Absolutely. I mean it's strangulation without the strangulation. It's complete suffocation, and it's long. You know,
Yeah.
it's way
There was a
long.
lot of suffering in that whole scenario.
Yes, yeah. Um, uh, it really is quite shocking. Uh, and then Brian called her that morning. Her ex-husband calls that morning to make sure that she was going to pick up Lucas from school
Hmm.
because that was the plan. And she just never responded. She claimed she slept really late. You
Hmm.
know, she calls the cops, and they show up around 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Oh, in the afternoon. Okay, so she
Right,
slept in all the way to that then. Which, I mean, if she was drunk, that tracks, right?
right.
Up late and then, passes out. Um,
Also, it's interesting, when you're on. They say with alcohol, the transfer of memories from short to long term can be blocked.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean that she may have really forgotten about the videos. She may have really forgotten about him being in the suitcase. I mean, we don't know
Right.
how intoxicated she was.
Right, exactly, exactly. So she maybe has like some sort of distant memory, or maybe she doesn't remember. And then because she does obviously feel guilty, then she doesn't want to watch the videos because then that's essentially like shows her the person she is when she's drunk,
Right. And
right?
then maybe, you have to also look into their history of domestic abuse. Is it always under the influence? Are
Right.
these instances under the influence, therefore making it easier for her to seek this sort of revenge that winds up in this terrible way? During the interrogation, she says to the cops, I don't think you understand who I am. I've always been a straight A student.
Oh no.
Uh, I am an outstanding mother to my son. I excel at everything. That's
Oh
an
wow.
actual quotation from her interrogation. So I mean,
So
a
she's
straight
like,
A
I would have
student.
excelled at this if I had planned to kill him. And I didn't do this because this is a gigantic mess and I'm about to go to jail for it. This isn't me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like this weird, how can it be me? I'm like an
Right.
outstanding mom. Like I'm so smart at school.
Right. Right.
It's really so it's a true back and forth between, you know, I mean, look, they're going to use these videos again, digital age, cell phone videos. They're going to be, it's the Snapchat. It's Alex Murdaugh all over again.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
here's this,
Because they have
here's,
the footage, they have the evidence. So whatever she says, whoever she is, they have video footage of her being like, I'm not letting you out.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
really damning. It's really damning. That's the thing that I think is going to hurt. Uh, I mean, I could have seen her getting the first degree based upon their history and maybe
Right.
this way of getting her back. I mean, it's also, did she really go to bed? There are just so many, questions to this case that I guess we'll find out in July, finally. I mean, it's
Right.
taken,
Exactly. But then at the same time, it's really, there was nobody else in the house. So outside of the videos, it's just really, are you going to believe her story?
right, right. And
Just
that's what it all boils down to. And that again is where the video evidence is so damning because it really leads one to believe this was intentional.
well, it was
Like,
intentional, and she also gives motive in them, being like, "You cheated on me. I'm going to get you now."
yeah, yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of because of what you did to me talk
Yeah.
in these, and the fact that she flips it over,
Right.
you know,
Exactly. You're like, you're messing around with it. Come
yeah,
on, Florida women. Come on. If you're going to kill your boyfriend, it's just in a suitcase, really?
yeah,
No, but I mean, it sounds like another one of those tragedies that you have two mentally unwell people, right? Because they're both
yeah,
alcoholics. She has depression. They're essentially, he's beating on her. She's fighting back and choking. Like, it just seems like such a violent and unhealthy relationship that I guess there is, no surprise, sadly, that it ended with one of them deceased. And she's probably going to be in bars for the rest of her life. So
yeah.
just, it's kind of a tragedy. In like, if you took the suitcase out, which makes this a really weird case, it's just very tragic. Like, now there's like four kids who are not going to have their parents, and there's a guy who's lost his life. I mean, not that I ever want to be kind to an abuser, because obviously he was an abusive guy. But it was really sad that she couldn't just leave him, right? Like, kick him out of her place, and
Mhm.
instead turn to this, which is like seems like a desperate act when you're telling the story. But then those videos is like, seems so petty, right?
My whole thing is we were playing hide and go seek.
Like, how is that a good story?
I don't know about you, but I can't. Can you
Dude,
remember the last time you were chilling with your husband, just being
like,
like,
hey,
wow,
let's go play hide and seek.
this wine is making me feel so good. Let's do some hide and seek. Like we just completed a puzzle. Like we just completed a puzzle. It's hide and go seek time.
Yeah, I mean,
It's such a,
yeah.
but I think another way
Well,
to
how
look at
else was
this.
she going to get him into well, I mean, if her story is not true, how did she get him into the suitcase?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And and if he does hide in it, it's incredible to me that would be his hiding place. It's like
Like,
he was like,
ooh, there's a
she'll
good
never find.
hiding place. I'm going to go hide in a suitcase that I can't breathe in. That's like somebody going and hiding in a refrigerator, being like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to have air, but this is a perfect place to hide." Which, I mean, I guess yes, they were drunk, but like a 5 foot
Yeah,
six, even if he's a thin, skinny guy, who wants to like pretzel themselves to get into a into a suitcase, unless of course she dared him. Like, I mean, I don't, how do you get into a suitcase of your own volition?
And if he did do it on his own, it must mean that she zipped the whole thing up, right?
No,
Because especially if, again, if we're going with the thing that there's no double zip, one on the inside, one on the outside,
right,
he's hiding in there. He's unable to zip himself in.
right.
So she's got to be like, oh, he's in there.
Zip him out. Now, so here's another theory. I wonder what the theory of the prosecution is was he passed out drunk, but then that's dead weight to get him into the suitcase, like stuff him in there, which would be definitely much more like premeditated versus accidental,
Mhm.
and then kind of like stuff him inside. But again, that's heavy dead weight, 5'6". I mean, he's gonna like weigh at least even 150 pounds. That's gonna be hard. She's a thin lady. So I
Mhm.
can't, yeah, it's just, I guess that's the great mystery is how did he get himself into that suitcase?
Yeah. I mean, if they do have this, and they do, history of domestic violence, she could have done this another way. That's what's interesting to me. I think she just took full opportunity of him. Maybe he was messing around. Maybe they're drunk. Maybe he's really happy they finished the puzzle and he wanted to celebrate by getting in a suitcase. The way she tells this story, it makes me feel as though there's a lot of truth and there are just some lies. It's a
Right.
bit of both,
So they
you know.
were actually playing hide and seek. And she said, oh, or maybe it was one of those like, hey, drunk boyfriend, I bet you can't hinge
Fit in that.
yourself
Yes.
into the suitcase.
Yeah.
Drunk boyfriend's like, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. I'm
Yeah.
macho. And then she zips him up and there you go. Right?
Yes. I wish that were a thing. Men proving their, like, then,
Machismo by zipping
yeah,
themselves into suitcases.
yes. Like, oh, you're a man, huh? I'm getting this.
Go get into the suitcase. Go. Let's see how little you can make yourself. Oh my
But to her
goodness.
credit, she didn't uh just drag it off the suitcase that is with him in it and dump it somewhere. You
Yeah.
know, she didn't freak out to. I mean, she calls 911. She
Yeah.
claims she does do the CPR.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, did in
and
the autopsy, did they find any other like, yeah, there was abrasions on his back, but did he get like hit on the head? Like, is there a way that he was
no signs of that.
incapacitated? No signs of that. Well, then I guess in the video he's yelling at her to get him out, and she's like, "Nah, you're staying in there."
Yeah.
She must
Again,
have
during the
lured
autopsy,
she must have lured him into that suitcase. There was no hide and seek. There was like some sort of luring situation.
I mean, I think that's what's going to be really interesting. You have the video, which is great for the prosecution, but yet to explain, her defense may be that he did that on his own.
Right.
Like she had nothing to do with that, and it
Well,
just
I
so
mean,
happens she was
yeah.
mumbling around and didn't mean to do it.
And
She may
again,
not get life. She may not. She may not get life.
well, no, especially if they, I mean, listen, dudes batter women, I think, what is it, every minute or something? I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
guys who beat on their wives and girlfriends that I'm sure there's going to be women on the jury who be like, yeah, he beat on you. This was probably some form of self-defense, even though the, the the videos are so damning, but even so they still have a history of abuse
Mhm.
towards each other. And you could say it's like, well, he's thin and little, but she's thin and little. So but because men have so much upper body strength as compared to women, like he could still be overpowering her, and she was really just trying to save her life and was so broken that she tried to strangle him. Like, I think that the defense, because of how many men batter women, that's not a stretch, right? So I could totally, I don't think she's going to get off, but I don't think she's going to get life either, because it'll be more of like a sort of self-defense situation, which is, I think, the
Right.
smartest way to go for them at this
I
point.
mean, again, he had been arrested in their cases of domestic violence more than she was.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's possible that she just could have she probably felt a lot of resentment every time he's going in, she's bailing him out.
Yeah.
And I think it was like, enough. She's probably figuring it out already. And in addition, it's not so much, I get this, it's not so much about the cheating, but it really is about the abuse for her.
Yeah.
It's also mentioned in the video, like this, this is what you did to me. It's like this kind of revenge,
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, a revenge where it's conceivable she may have thought that she unzipped it a little for him.
Right.
That's
So
what they're going to have.
It's going to make him really uncomfortable, but not kill him.
Right.
Whereas he ended up dying. Oof, what a crazy, crazy case. I mean, crazy suitcase, has some weird things, hide and seek. You just never would think that those would come, dead dude in a suitcase. They were playing hide and seek. It's kind of, it's a bit Fruit Loops, but again.
I suggest, and I highly recommend, they're available on YouTube, watching both the body cam footage of when she plays Paul and the interrogation. The interrogators are horrible. The way that they conduct themselves he's on the phone. He's like on his cell phone while this interrogation's happening.
Really?
They're supposed to be, wait till you see it. It's kind of insane. And usually that's like a ploy, that's like a trick.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's just not. It's very sloppy, but the interrogation's very interesting, just to watch her and how she was responding to all this stuff.
Okay.
But definitely check out the body cam because she's frantic and her behavior is just so bizarre, really.
Okay. So this, another lady killer for you guys. Thank you for joining us. And we'll, I think we should switch over to some dudes. Maybe we do some classic ones. I mean, I know we mentioned Ted Bundy, but I don't know if we want to fully go there because it's the summer. We have kids around. That would be hard to research.
What do you think of the weepy voiced killer?
Oh, the weepy voice killer. Yes. A good old favorite. Maybe we can even put some of his weepy voice on the show. Yeah, let's do a weepy voice, dude. Okay, sweet. Thank you for joining us, and sorry that we're a couple days late with this, but again, seventh circle of hell of children and camps and schedules. Hopefully we'll have ironed out the kinks for next week, and otherwise stay cool because I know half of the country is like in 120 degrees sweltering, and the other part is smoky. So take care of yourselves out there, and we'll see you next week.